Lambeau Field, my first game ever as a pro. We went to Lambeau Thursday night. Do y'all remember that play at the end of the game when my coach sent me up the middle and y'all D-line cut my O-line and y'all just had 6 people jump over the top and just stop me on the goal line and ruin my debut as a rookie, my dream as a rookie. Y'all killed it.
AJ, did you get a little piece of that?
AJ was right there jumping over the top.
If I didn't jump over and have something to do with that play, yeah, I would have been cut from the team probably. But yeah, it was a good one to win. I'm glad you didn't get in, Mark.
Light it.
We welcome you to the Triple Option presented by Wendy's. He's Mark Ingram. I'm Rob Stone. Make sure to try Wendy's new Saucy Nugs today, whether you're joining us for the live stream, watching later. Remember, please rate, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as across social media. 3X Option Show. We got new episodes coming your way Wednesday. We're giving Coach Meyer the night off. He's worried about the big game this weekend. Michigan at Ohio State. Let's talk about the 4th edition of the College Football Playoff Rankings, Mark, which just came in. Quick reminder on some of the rules. 12 teams advance to the playoffs. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions, remember this,
Yes,
5 highest-ranked conference champs get automatic bids. Remaining 7 spots go to the next 7 highest-ranked teams. 4 highest-ranked conference champs get a first-round bye. So let's remember these conferences.
Yes.
It's going to come. It's going to come into play here.
It's coming into play off the rip,
Mark,
Stoner.
I know. I see you moving and grooving. Let's go to the rankings first off, my friend. And man, holy fluctuation this week. According to my math, Mark, we had 10 teams fluctuated 4 or more spots in the top 25. 8 programs fluctuated at least 5 spots. You see Clemson there at number 12, up 5 spots, but they are not in the playoff bracket. Boise State up 1. They are in because right now they're your Mountain West leader. The big one we're going to talk about in a second, Indiana at number 10. They plummeted 5 spots after that 38-15 loss at Ohio State. SMU up 4 spots at number 9. Tennessee, Georgia, Miami right now, your ACC leader. They go up 2 spots. Notre Dame replaces Indiana at number 5. The Independent at 10-1 overall, looking really good. They just have to avoid an upset at Southern Cal this weekend. And for the 3rd straight week in a row, the top 4 unchanged. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State. Oregon, they host Washington. Buckeyes host Michigan on Fox. Texas at Texas A&M, and Penn State takes on Maryland. Mark, let's start with you. Indiana, your reaction from IU dropping 5 spots all the way down to number 10.
I mean, I think if you're Indiana Hoosier, you are extremely happy with this because everyone talked about that Ohio State loss might kick you out. And they got their butt whooped. They went to the horseshoe. They got their butt whooped. So for them to only drop down 10 spots means that they're good for a lock in the playoff right now. So right now, Indiana is in. So that's a huge beneficiary of this last movement. Because if you hadn't had those losses, they probably would have been on the outside looking in. But because of all the upsets we saw last weekend, Indiana is in right now. Tennessee was the first team out last week. They are in right now because of all the upsets. So they have to go to Vanderbilt this week. So Vandy, let's go. Because I need my Tide second team out to somehow get back into this race.
Hey, man, Vandy can do it, man. They've caused problems this season.
So, you're back?
I'm back, baby.
Let's go. I wasn't going to get my friend. But yes, Vandy.
We're already down 1. You can't be down 2.
Tennessee has to go to Vandy. Let's go. Let's go, Vandy. Notre Dame, they have to go to USC. Fight on Trojans. Let's go. But, hey, Stoner. What I'm thinking,
you're like a hater right now, man. You're just looking for losses.
Let's go.
Hey, we had chaos last Saturday. Who's to say we're not going to get another dose of it, particularly on rivalry weekend, right?
Hey, but particularly on rivalry weekend. But the most strange thing is up in these upper teens right here, Stoner. You got Arizona State as the Big 12 leader. They're ranked number 16, but they
are number 12 in the bracket.
Yes, number 12, but they're the number 16th ranked team. But since they're the Big 12 champ as of now, they get the berth.
And they were up 5 spots to number 16, a huge move for them.
But look who was on that booty, that Tulane roll wave.
So
that's the
Tulane,
AAC. So they could block out the Big 12 altogether. You said it's the 5 highest ranked conference champs.
Bingo.
So if Tulane ends up higher ranked than the Big 12, they block out the Big 12, and the Big 12 doesn't get an automatic bid.
Insanity.
Crazy.
We just all assumed, all right, the conference winner from the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10, right? Those are going to be the 4, and then everybody else will figure it out, right? Like, good for you, Boise State in the Mountain West. But Tulane is legit, up 3 spots. They're at 9-2. They host a fellow 9-2 Memphis side on Thursday, right? So Thanksgiving Day, and they've already advanced to the AAC championship game. Their 2 losses, they lost at home to Kansas State by 7 points, and then the next game, a 15-point loss in Norman to Oklahoma. So Tulane is lurking out there as that absolute bid stealer, tucked in right behind Arizona State.
And you think that's
the rankings.
for the AAC, you think that's 2 quality losses for you.
Yes.
Kansas State, who is ranked 24 right now, and Oklahoma, who just put the pounding on my.
You know what's better than quality losses? Quality wins, my friend. Quality wins. You know what I find interesting? Right underneath the top 12, I know we're looking at the bracket right now, but tucked underneath that top 12, and you mentioned it, Alabama, 3 losses at 13. Ole Miss, 3 losses, sitting at 14. South Carolina, 3 losses, sitting there at 15. I feel like the visual is the committee is setting things up where if there is just enough movement, just enough chaos,
they get in.
That one of those 3-loss SEC teams is sitting there on the doorstep, knocking, saying, I got some flowers. I got some homemade pie. Why don't you let me in? I'd love to be a good host here on this Thanksgiving. So I find that really, really interesting. Of course, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina have to take care of their own business. And for South Carolina, at Clemson sitting there at number 12, up 5 spots, 2 losses. So South Carolina, number 1, value that highly, right? At number 15. If Clemson is to beat them, that's a really good win.
Yes.
Right? So now all of a sudden, instead of maybe just 1 ACC team, you're saying,
2?
Wait a second, there is a chance. Well,
3? There's 3. Yes.
There's 2 right now. Right? Right now in the bracket, we have SMU sitting there
number 9.
As a 10 seed, though, as the 10 seed in the bracket that you're looking at right now, and Miami as the 3 seed. There's a chance that all of a sudden the ACC is going to have 3 teams, just as many as the SEC.
Possibly. Yeah. Well, the SEC is at 2. Well, they're at 3 right now.
SEC's at 3 right now in the bracket.
Yeah.
Big Ten.
Wow, how the tables have turned.
Man.
In the ACC championship game, is that who is that as of right now?
Locked in is SMU.
Okay.
Miami
has to handle
will
their
be
business.
there. They have to beat Syracuse
at
Syracuse Saturday. If Miami loses, Clemson is in, obviously, regardless of what they do to South Carolina, because that is not a conference game.
Wow. ACC
Boise
might mess
State,
around and get 3?
Here's another one. Boise State sitting there up 1 spot at number 11, the Mountain West leader. The strength of schedule is 81. They're 10-1. They take on Oregon State Saturday. Oregon State's one of those teams that can do some things once in a while. Like the Oregon States, the Washington States, the wild cards of college football hanging out in their own little 2-team conference.
Where's that game at, Stoner?
Oh, man, I knew you were going to ask that because as soon as I wrote that in, I guarantee you our producer, Chris, is going to type in something here in a second. He's going to tell me quickly.
I'm going to tell you right now. It's
Oregon State.
Oh, it's at home. It's at home. It's at Boise.
So Boise State's home. And then we know next Friday night, a week from this Friday on Fox, we're going to be there, Mark, for the Mountain West Championship game. So
always wanted to go see that blue turf, man, and I'm going to be able to stand on it.
You're gonna see it. You're gonna smell it. We're gonna be doing our show from it. What else? The things that keep jumping out to me, and I feel like we've said it before, is there's a couple teams that are really highly ranked and valued.
Yeah. Well, Penn State sitting at number. Penn State, they're the number 4 ranked team overall. They're 10-1.
What have they done?
No, their best win is an Illinois team. Their best win is an Illinois team. Like
Illinois up 2 spots to 23. I'm not saying that's a bad win, but you're right. That's it. And then the loss.
And what has the
Ohio
Longhorns done? What have the Longhorns done to be ranked number 3 in the country with the 2 seed?
And they're at Texas A&M. We'll talk that one with our
no current top 25 wins for the Longhorns, Stoner. No current top 25 wins as the 3 seed.
So they look the part on the field, but if you look at
so that's what I do like about the
numbers,
committee. I feel like they are looking at how you are playing football.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't necessarily, they don't have the resume, but they are one of the better teams in the country when you look at them play football. And they had that bad loss to Georgia. They might have a chance to avenge that loss in the SEC championship if they can handle their business in College Station against A&M. But Texas, highly rated, had no current top 25 teams. Penn State, highly rated, only one win over current top 25 teams. Illinois. So Indiana, I was talking about that while you were getting your thing together. I was like, I'm happy if I'm a Hoosier right now because we're in the playoff if I'm a Hoosier. You know
Listen,
what I mean?
They've got Purdue, and Purdue's going to hurt their strength of schedule. You know, they should absolutely take their frustrations out on Purdue, and they will not sink lower than 10. You know, the problem, though, for Indiana is at one point they were hosting, and now they're on the road at Penn State. And I kind of like this one, right? Because your 6 versus 11 first-round matchup is 2 teams from the same conference that did not play each other in the conference, that don't have a lot of ranked opposition, and we have a lot of questions about both of them. For me, I'm looking at that, I'm like, I'm going to be happy with whoever moves on from that game because that will be a quality win.
Yes, it will be a quality win.
To think
but Stoner, you talk about the bracket. Look at how top-heavy this bracket is. Look how top-heavy this bracket is. You have
Ohio
Tennessee,
State,
Georgia,
Oregon, Tennessee,
Ohio
Georgia.
State. Come on. I don't know if that's going to switch over here in the next week or two.
That's a really
bracket
good point.
Is very top-heavy right now, man. You getting that bottom bracket, man, you have a way easier chance to the semifinals.
That 2 seed is Latin, Texas.
Yes.
Right? They're going to take on the winner of Notre Dame, SMU. Again, this is no disrespect to Notre Dame and SMU, but on paper, what you're looking at, you're like, well, that's a good one. And then the other 3 teams, Indiana, Penn State, and a Miami team that has a lights-out talent in Cam Ward, but a lot of question marks. And yeah, you're right. That bottom half of the bracket this week really looks easy. I'm going to compare it to last week's. So last week's, the bottom bracket was a little bit tougher. Georgia was in it. Penn State, Ole Miss, Indiana, and Miami. I think the bottom of the bracket got a little bit softer.
Yeah.
And that top part of the bracket has always been lights out because it has the 2 top teams in the nation for the last couple of weeks in it. In Oregon and Ohio State on track, as Coach mentioned, a month and a half ago for a three-peat.
Yes, a three-peat rematch.
They meet 3 times in one season. Insanity. And not even in the national championship game, right?
Right. That's wild. But listen, we talk about the ACC. If Clemson gets a win over South Carolina, do they jump the loser of Miami and SMU? So that would only put 2 of the ACC teams in.
I think it's hard to imagine
does Tennessee
3 ACC teams in there, right? It doesn't feel right.
It's going to be possibly 2.
I feel strong about
2
ACC teams right now because you're supposed to not get punished by getting to the championship game, right?
Yeah, but then you have Georgia. Does Tennessee jump Georgia if they lose in the conference title game?
That would anger me. Georgia's got to take care of
Georgia
Georgia
Tech,
first of all.
You go on the championship game ranked 8, you get to stay 8.
And you hold. At worst, you hold serve. I think that's what they're hoping. But Mark, as you know, it's humans. We're not an AI yet handling these rankings in this bracket. So they're gonna see some score lines that.
Oh, we got a question, Stoner.
All right, hold on. It's a small graphic, so I'm gonna put on my readers. All right, I bet this is Central New York Buckeyes, CNY. This is what happens when you went to school, Colgate up there in Central New York. Would you rather be the number 1 or the number 5 seed in the playoffs? This is a great question. I've been thinking about this
question
for a while.
Especially with how this bracket looks.
Oh, so right now, just for example, the number 1 seed, of course, is Oregon. They get a bye, right? Incredibly important this time of the season. 5 seed Ohio State getting, quote unquote, the last team in. But then you get your home game, but then you go to a neutral site game against a Boise State, which I think we all agree would be the lowest of the 4 highest rated conference champions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. The path to the semis looks good, but it's an extra game. And if you're the Buckeyes, it's almost every other week there's a offensive lineman going down. Like you don't want to play until you have to play, I think is my feeling. I think you want to be that 1 seed.
Yeah, I think you want the 1 seed. I think you want the bye. Let 9 and 8 beat each other up. That's going to be a physical, tough matchup.
Just pinata each other.
Yep. And then come on, let me get you 1 win. I'm in the semis. As appealing as that 5 looks, if I'm Ohio State, to go ahead and just whoop up on Arizona State or whoever gets that, if it's a Big 12 or the AAC.
Tulane.
Tulane. So as appealing as it is to whoop up on that possible opponent and get the Boise, have to go to Boise, by the way. No, that would be a neutral site game. Neutral site game. So, but then beat up on Boise, as appealing as that seems, it seems like a straight shot to the semis. You know what I mean? Whereas Oregon, you play Georgia, you might not make the semis, or you might. You know what I mean? But
I'll take the 1 seed. You know what?
I'll take the 1 seed
better
too.
Than one's my favorite number. That's where I would rather be all day and all night.
Because 1, 2, 3, you have to play 4 games, man. You have to play 4 games if you're in that. If you're that 5 seed, you have to win 4 games. Whereas opposed to you win 2, you're in the championship. Win 3, you have the championship. So, I think the 1 seed is a place to be.
This is fascinating. So again, the first team out, Clemson. And they have South Carolina this weekend. Maybe they're in the ACC championship game. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that MGM picks are coming up when we drop the full edition of the Triple Option tomorrow. Second team out is Alabama. Teams to be thinking about this week. Number 16, Arizona State in the bracket. Number 17, Tulane out of the bracket. Big game against Memphis Thursday, and then the AAC championship game. And the Big 12 is an absolute gorgeous, beautiful train wreck. We're going to talk about all the possibilities and all the programs that are still alive. I think there's 250 possibilities of what the championship game could be, and 9 programs in the Big 12 are still alive heading into rivalry weekend.
250 possible options between 9
I'm
teams?
just telling what people told me. That seems like a lot, but there's a lot of programs that are still available, and nobody controls their destiny in the Big 12. We're going to talk about that with our Bet MGM picks. All right, so now that we've heard the latest rankings, let's take a look at the results that led to some of these programs being on the outside looking in, because as we've been saying for weeks now, anything can happen on any given Saturday in college football. How about this? Number 7, number 9, number 15, number 16, all lost to unranked teams this week. And we bring Coach Meyer in for this conversation right now. Let's talk about those 4 games real quick. Number 7, Alabama losing at Oklahoma 24-3. Coach's Gators, the resurgent Gators, take care of number 9 Ole Miss 24-17. Auburn upsets Texas A&M. Maybe the Aggies were looking ahead to this Saturday in 4 overtimes. And Kansas, the Big 12 Grim Reaper tour continued as they took care of then number 16 Colorado 37-21. Kansas, guys, the first team in NCAA history with a losing record to win not 1, not 2, 3 straight games against ranked opponents. You know what that is, don't you? That is your saucy nug of the week. Try some at your nearest Wendy's. Of those losses that we just talked about, Coach, let's bring you into the conversation first. Which one do you think was the most devastating to those programs going forward, whether it's this season or kind of long-term?
Ole Miss and Alabama, just devastating. And Alabama, at times, they look like the best team in the country. I mean, there was, I was saying you got Ohio State, Oregon, you got Texas, and you put doggone it, Bama pretty close to that, as far as the way they look when they're on fire when Jalen played. But, I mean, something was in the water in Tuscaloosa, or my gosh, or Norman, or wherever that was, Norman, Oklahoma. But I want to hit this, Rob, really, really hard. I've been waiting to hit this. I think there's got to be a reconfiguration and conversation about bowl games. You're talking about Alabama, and to go play, in all due respect, I mean, when I was at Utah, we went to Liberty Bowl. It was the greatest thing in the world. Bowling Green, I stood in front of a 9-3 Bowling Green team, and we kept practicing even though we had nowhere to go. our players would have did anything. But you see some of these teams that have the aspirations of go winning it all, Mark. Is Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter really going to play in a lower level bowl game?
Negative.
No
is
way.
Alabama and that crew, the agents and, when Denzel Ward first came to me before the Cotton Bowl and said, I don't think I'm going to play in this game, I thought, like, what happened? I really didn't compute with me what was happening. So I think we're about to see something in the next 7 days that's going to really transform college football in postseason.
Yeah, if you are one of these elite players that is going to the next level to play football, and you're not in a conference championship game, you're not going to the college football playoff, they are going to hang it up. And then you also have to think about your guys that are coming back, your underclassmen coming back. Are they going to enter the portal? This is something that you have to these are ongoing
Absolutely.
issues. We had a freshman All-American in Caleb Downs. When I say we, Alabama, we had a freshman All-American in Caleb Downs. He enters the portal. Obviously, Coach Saban leaves and all that, but you have to worry about that every single offseason. Are your great players who are underclassmen going to enter the portal and go somewhere else because of this NIL and this new world where somebody might come and offer them more money? So
I feel like we've been conditioned for this already. Like this is not news to me, Coach, because it was news a couple years ago. Like, wait, what a second. Like, we grew up with bowl games mattered. They meant something. How could you bail on your team in the last game of the season, the last game maybe of your career? But I get it. This is a long-term view right now.
You're right, Rob. Let me interrupt real quick. You're right. It's news, but it's bad news. I don't think it should continue. Let me ask you a question. Florida State, I think, went 13-0 or 12-0, whatever it was. They get snubbed. Their players don't play, and they get their teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
As a result, they go 1 and whatever this year. Did that, and someone could say, well, is it good for the young players to play? I would say, if you're going to get your ass kicked in, no. I don't want to coach it. I don't want to be around it, and I don't want to speak for.
Well, nobody wants to get their ass kicked in, do they? But
that's what's going to happen when your best players.
Yeah.
But and you have 10 or 12 dudes say I'm not playing, and right. I mean, so some guys that aren't ready to play and just get. What would you say, Mark? You get what pushed?
Get your stuff pushed in.
It's so bad.
So I just think my point is. Then I'll throw it back to you. I keep interrupting you because I can't wait to see what happens.
No, it's gonna happen.
I know a 6-6 or 7 and LSU getting on a plane to go somewhere. Why?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, yeah. You look at Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. If they're not in the Big 12 championship game, if they're not in the CFP, out. That's the last that we'll see of them in college for sure.
And that's fine. I think we're all okay with that, right? I mean, we're talking first round grades. You don't want to get
top 2 picks.
We've seen too many horrible instances of next level players getting injured in moments that maybe they didn't need to be there, and it changes their life.
I gotta hit too though. The most devastating loss, 1,000%, is that Alabama loss. That Alabama loss was atrocious. Like, to have your season on the line, the SEC championship on the line, the CFP on the line, and to go lay an egg when you have everything on the line like that is devastating. It's a devastating loss. And we knew that there would be some change coming with Coach DeBoer. There's always change when a new head coach takes over. But when you inherit that kind of roster, when you're in the position that you're in to capitalize and be able to go to the CFP, that was very much attainable. This is a team that has the talent and to win a national championship when they're playing their best football. But when they play bad football, they look like a 500 team, Coach. Yeah. It is really bad. There is no in between. Bad. It's either one of the best teams in the country or a non-bowl eligible team. So
I think it's bad for all those teams outside of A&M, right? Because A&M still kind of has this pathway, right? With
A&M still controls their own destiny.
With Texas, and then if they can get by them into the SEC championship game, they can win their way back.
A&M still controls their own destiny. Alabama does not. And they don't deserve to go to the playoffs because of how they've been playing. Like, that was terrible. To have your season on the line, conference championship, CFP, all ahead of you, and to go lay an egg like that on the road. 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
No response for the quarterback run. They ran for over 200 rush yards on us. That was just awful, man. That was just terrible.
The team that took it, I'd say, after Alabama is Ole Miss, taking it on the chin like that at the resurgent. It's not the Gators anymore. It's the resurgent Gators because Imagine being happy, being 6-5 in Gainesville, Florida. I mean, we went 13-1, and I couldn't go out to eat because we lost a game. And so, Ole Miss, of all the rosters too, that's probably a generational roster that Ole Miss had. Alabama, you're going to see rosters like that. Ole Miss, I've coached against Ole Miss many times, and when I watch them on tape, I mean, there are great players all over that field. I mean, the defense doesn't get so they get overlooked by Dart and, Coach Kiffin and all that. Ole Miss is legit, Mark.
Yes, they are.
And they lost, and they're out. That's a generational opportunity because they had really, really great players at Ole Miss.
Yes.
I want to go back to the players, leaving the programs at some point. We expect this to come. And we also just kind of know this is what's happening. To me, Coach, which is going to be really interesting, is how are the coaches going to handle themselves and their programs at this point? Do they say, okay, we're done, and it's time to go out and recruit? It's time to start spending our time, our resources on the transfer portal and re-recruiting these guys rather than spending some really valuable moments, some valuable practices with the younger guys and building them up. And, it frustrates me because I always thought bowl games were a wonderful opportunity to end your season or end your career on a great note. And also for these freshmen, these sophomores, to get some really valuable reps and say, hey, coach, hey, coaches, look at me. I'm ready for next year. I'm going to be your guy. And that's a great window for teams to learn about their players more. And if the coaches don't value it, the players aren't going to value it. And maybe now it's the other way. If the players aren't going to value it, maybe the coaches aren't going to value it.
There's a big part of me, Mark and Rob, that's heartbroken because I grew up in that. I grew up in the first bowl game I got to coach in when I was at the University of Utah, and the players, and it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And I was also assistant coach at Colorado State and going to the Rose Bowl, my gosh, I still tear up. I think I got a chance to coach in the Rose Bowl. So,
man.
But, I hate to say this, Rob. Rob, you sound like an old man. I mean, you kind of sound like me. That's over, pal. It's done.
You're telling me to move on. I love this.
This is the new generation. This is the Deuce Mark Ingram generation.
No, it ain't. This ain't my generation.
Oh man,
my generation was different.
The bus now.
I'm done, Coach.
I just don't want to see the coaches giving up on this.
This is one of these.
I'm not sure they're going to. Oh, all right. So we're talking about that, right? The Shador. I want your reaction real quick. This is Coach Prime's reaction to that loss. And remember, for the last couple of weeks, we've been banging the drum for Colorado. Here they come, working their way up the Big 12 food chain. Here they are in position to get to the Big 12 championship game and get themselves into the playoffs. Year 2 of Coach Prime. They had it. They had it in front of them. And this was a huge setback to SCO Buffs. Here's how Coach Prime handled that loss.
It's not one of you can say you played your best game. Nobody in here can say you gave the maximum effort. You gave it all you could. It's nobody. And you see the result. See, the problem is you got intoxicated with success. And success is intoxicating. You start believing what they're saying. You start listening more to what they're saying. You bought into all that foolishness that you were this. And you went out there and we got humbled. Coaches, players, everyone, we went out there and got humbled. But it is what it is. Where you go from here? Where you go from here? Like, where do you go from here? That's the critical thing. What do you do with this moment? What do you glean from this moment? What do you learn from this moment? Where do we go from here? Because this moment just ain't about football, this is about life. And this is a tremendous life lesson. Let's learn from it. Let's learn from it and grow from it. The question is, guys, I'm gonna ask you one last time. Where do you go from here?
Man, I love that. I absolutely love that because so much of the conversation about Coach Prime is PR and media, and he loves the camera, and he loves this and that, and the glitz and the glamour, and the rap concerts in the locker room after they get a home win, Coach, that you were talking about last week. But man, that is heartfelt, right? That is substance and caring about these young men, about these student athletes. I think this is I think this is a defining moment in Coach Prime's young coaching career.
Well, you talk about all the flash, the glitz, the glamour, all the stuff that doesn't matter. When you pull back the curtain, there is substance being coached into these young men by Coach Prime. Yes, football is a great tool to learn life lessons. That's why we all love it so much. When you get knocked on your butt, how you respond shows the true character of a man. And that's what he challenged that entire locker room to do after the toughest loss of the season. And you will be a better man because of how you respond to that. Or you will be worse by how you respond to it. So for him to challenge his players after a devastating loss like that shows you that there is true substance, that he is growing.
He's not quitting. He's not done.
He's not quitting.
He's still soldiering on.
And he is developing young men. He is not just out here being flash and no substance. No, there is substance being brought into these student athletes. And if I'm a father, if I'm a mother, if I have a young man who wants to play college football, you see that speech that he's giving to his players after one of the toughest losses of the season, and that is someone who you want your child to play for.
Well, that's why I went out there. I've known Prime a long time, and you see some of the stuff on TV, and quite honestly, at times it makes you uncomfortable. Just because, once again, Rob, me and you were too old. No, I'm just kidding. But I had to go witness it firsthand, and I sat in the meetings, and I called every one of you guys afterwards. I said, man, there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
There's something. He is diving into these guys. He coaches them really hard. Like I was there that one day of practice, and they got a rule, they got to run off the field, and a couple of them didn't. And he stopped practice, and it was for the rest of practice. I promise you, they all did, because football has a lot of things. You got to do the little things right that leads to big things, and that's his message. And it was great. It was fantastic, and it's a different. Sometimes it's different what you see on TV, and when we were there at the game, and the video cameras everywhere and all that. But you know what? That's his world.
Mm-hmm.
But all I know is what I heard and I witnessed firsthand, and you see it. So,
people want to be a part of it. That's the thing. When some people want to be a part of it, so that's why you see the amount of celebrities, the amount of people that wanted their hands in it, because they admire Coach Prime, they appreciate Coach Prime. So you go on the sideline and you see it looking like the VMA awards and the ESPYs. Like, that's just a credit and a sentiment to Coach Prime and what he's done, what he's doing. He's a trendsetter. He's a motivator, and people like to be around success. And so I know it's a lot of stuff. People don't like it, but listen, man, when you are great and you have success and you are a motivator and you have something good going, people want to be a part of it. And so I commend Coach Prime for what he's been able to do. Nobody has been to Boulder like that. The sidelines have never looked like that at Boulder.
Also, arguably one of the greatest athletes to ever put on a helmet. Do what you got to do, and that's he's different, so that's good. And reality is they got ridiculous great players, but they also got a bunch of average players.
Yeah,
that's not a great football. It's a really good team.
When you talk about the most talented roster in college football, Colorado isn't in that discussion. No. They have two of the best players in college football and some good receivers, a couple good players here and there, but the overall roster isn't one of the top in the country. So,
well, here's the Coach Prime continuing to fight the good fight. You know what week it is, don't you? It's Michigan. It's Ohio State. It's the game. Two legends of those two programs join the triple option next. Buckeye great A.J. Hawk, Heisman winner from Michigan, Charles Woodson, join the conversation next.
Light it.
You've had Wendy's Nugs dipped in sauce, right, Mark? You've had the Wendy Nugs?
I've had them, and I love them.
All right. But, Mark, I ask you, have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs that I know you love, and you know what they turn them up to? They turn them up to 11, Mark.
Ooh, more than 10.
More than
Choose
10.
between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper. Only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare you. There's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love.
Are you man enough to try the spicy ghost pepper, by the way? Do you think you could pull that off?
That's not for me. I'm the honey barbecue type guy.
Yeah, I can do the peppers. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then go back and get a few more napkins and prepare to nug. Apparently the word nug is a verb now. So Mark, prepare to nug like you've never nugged before for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. Keep on nugging, America.
Nug City.
In our job, the office is always changing, whether it be at the Big House, the Coliseum, or even Death Valley. While there are many different types of offices out there, one thing is for certain. Choosing the right candidate for any office is a huge responsibility, Coach.
Hey, well, if you're hiring, you want to find the best candidates for your office. You need ZipRecruiter. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/option.
ZipRecruiter is the hiring site employees prefer the most based on G2. How fast does ZipRecruiter's smart technology start showing your job to qualified candidates? How about immediately? And you can invite top candidates for your job to apply to encourage them to apply sooner.
Remember, if you want to find the right candidates for your office, you need ZipRecruiter. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Just go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/option.
Again, that is ZipRecruiter.com/option. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, welcome back to the Triple Option presented by Wendy's. It is the game this week, so let's bring in some representatives from both sides of the program. We got A.J. Hawk, a national champion with Ohio State back in 2002, two-time All-American, 3-1 in the game, and our good friend Charles Woodson. You know him as a Heisman Trophy winner, 1997 national champ at Michigan. Charles is 3-0 in the game. I would love to start with AJ, the well-read AJ Hawk, and one of his favorite books behind him. But Charles, we got Coach Meyer here, so Coach, you get
no, Charles, go ahead and start. What you said to him, Chuck?
Charles already starting.
Yeah, I said, AJ, you got a loss, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, I stayed all 4 years. Yeah, Chuck, I don't know what would happen if you would have stayed, but yeah, I lost my sophomore year. You guys had a squad.
Just asking.
All right,
and so it begins.
I didn't know that.
I've been waiting to hear this. You got A.J. Hawk, one of the most decorated players ever to come out of the great state of Ohio, and then obviously Charles, one of the most decorated players that come out of this great state of Ohio. All right, A.J., what the hell happened? How does a guy from outside Toledo, Ohio, and even Desmond Howard from Cleveland, the only Heismans, I mean, what in the hell happened, do you think, AJ? Did someone take his lunch money in 6th grade or something, or what happened?
Yeah, I always wanted to ask you that, Wood. I know what up where you're from, though, isn't it? A bunch of people do actually. You guys are so close to Michigan, don't people actually? It's not that uncommon, I guess, for you guys to go, which sucks for us, Ohio people. But obviously, we know history is already set.
Yeah, it's kind of split up there. I mean, we're close to the border. You know, I'm probably, you know, in terms of distance-wise between Columbus and Ann Arbor, I could get to either one of those places in the you know, same amount of time. So we have quite a bit of Michigan fans up where I'm from. But I get asked that question all the time, and it's really a simple, easy answer. My older brother, who still lives in Ohio, you know, he was a big Michigan fan growing up, and he's like, you know, he was my first, you know, childhood idol. You know, he was the man in the house. You know, he played all the different sports. He wrestled, he ran track, he played football. Like he was the man, and he liked Michigan. And so guess what? Little brother liked Michigan too. And so I just grew up on that side of the rivalry as a young kid, man, and it just, of course, it drove me to go up north and cross the border.
Yeah, sure, that way. So, Coach, you said the 2 Heismans from that team up north come from Ohio.
Yeah, we got 2. We got Desmond.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But both of y'all from Ohio,
Cleveland area, and then myself. So we're 2 of the 3.
It's not that, Mark. It's
from Ohio.
Their best coaches are from the great state of Ohio. So,
yeah,
you know, Harbaugh was born in Toledo.
Listen,
Charles is outnumbered this week. Hang in there, Charles.
Listen, I'm from Michigan. I don't really love the Wolverines, but I'm from Michigan. So y'all ain't just gonna be just talking bad about my state like this. Like we was at dinner last week. He had the whole restaurant talking about we don't give a dang about the whole state of Michigan.
Yeah.
I say, hey, I'm about to put.
Man.
Hey, I'm about to knuckle up with somebody up there. Like, hey, now, like,
yeah, you was outnumbered. You just needed your boy with you, man. We the.
Hey, I was about to knuck up and buck up.
Hey, back to back. We just go back to back.
All right, now I just want to ask, man. Coach got a natty, I got a natty. Both of y'all got natties. We were played in a different era, BCS era, whatever it may be. I think it was the AP before that, whatever. Just a long history of how they determine national champion. with this new playoff format, do you think this is a better way to determine a champion than in years past?
I'll say yes. I think just because it makes it more inclusive. Before, you go back through the timeline when we were undefeated, we were contracted, of course, to go play the Rose Bowl, the Big Ten, and so we played the winner of the Pac-10, played Washington State. We didn't have an opportunity to play Nebraska, who was also undefeated. And then I think a year later is when the BCS was implemented, and then it started, the best teams or the best 4 teams. And so, but you always have outside of those 4 teams, you always have a 5th, a 6th team that's saying, "Hey, we're good enough to win. Maybe we're in the toughest division. We only have 1 loss. We should crack the top 4 because we play the toughest competition." And so now this just allows some of those teams who normally would be outside of that window to have their opportunity. And so we get to see a team, maybe it's Boise State, right, that gets into the playoffs. And in years past, maybe they had an undefeated season and say, "Hey, we're one of the best teams." All right, well, now we get to find out, because now you're going to get to play against, I don't know, with Alabama and all these guys going down. I don't know who's, it could be Tennessee, it could be Ohio State. And so now
we got to bring up bad stuff, man.
Sure. Yeah, we really get to find out those teams that were outside of that bubble, how real their programs are when it comes down to it.
AJ, you like the current setup?
Yeah, I do, just because anytime, no matter how many teams you put in, I feel like, there's always going to be teams left out that feel like they should be there. But if we put in 12 and it's a winner-go-home situation, you can prove that you're the best team. I think that's always better than when a group of people votes on who the best team might be. Anytime you can play for it, I am absolutely all in favor.
AJ, what was your first memory of what this rivalry is, or the first time that the game hit you, whether it was as a grade schooler, your freshman year when you guys had that great, late touchdown and then that defensive stand? What was the moment to you that said, "Oh my gosh, this is what Ohio State, Michigan is"?
Yeah, I grew up about an hour and 15 minutes from Columbus, and I grew up definitely an Ohio State fan, but I didn't end up going to any games until I was in high school when I was being recruited. I was always playing my sports on the weekends, really, and watching the games when I could. So I definitely knew what the week was like. In elementary school, we had different themes every day leading up to it and all that, but I didn't really understand it until I got to
What were
campus.
the themes in elementary school?
Each day, I think you would dress up as a different, your different favorite player on the team, on Ohio State or whatever it was. And there's different themes of scarlet and gray and what you would wear throughout the week. So I understood it a little bit. But until I got on campus and I heard Coach Tressel tell us about it and teach us the history of it and the whole week leading up to it, and then actually playing in my first game, we won to go 13-0 at home. I was a true freshman. We knew we were going to the national championship after we beat Michigan 14-9. Talk about Tressel ball, old school ball control defense. And I remember the whole everybody empties onto the field, and you couldn't even move. It was so chaotic. And I randomly ran into my mom and my brother on the field, and with 50,000 people roaming the field right there. And I remember "Oh, we're going to the national championship." I'm like, "Oh, this is I guess that this is what this game is." So yeah, I was lucky to have a great start.
Man, what about for you, Charles?
Yeah, I kind of feel like, AJ, these games are played on Saturdays, and we always had stuff going on. So you always you caught, the highlights, of the games. And just for me, remembering big plays like, Desmond's run up the sideline, which is, kind of crazy because later on I would end up having a play similar to that. But it was just, just the energy around that game. And, AJ mentioned it, in school, it was a big deal, because, a lot of people in my school knew that I liked Michigan before I ever committed. But of course, we had a lot of Ohio State fans and people around our community who even went to, Ohio State. So it was always the back and forth, during the week leading up to that game. So for me, I think it was all about the lead up, and, if your team won, then of course, the rest of the year was a great year.
All right, this week the Buckeyes are favored by 21 points. AJ in 04. In 04,
big number.
Think about this. 04, the Wolverines were ranked 7th. Ohio State was unranked, and then Charles and you guys beat them. Charles in 96, you guys had 3 losses, and you were playing the number 2 Buckeyes. So tell us the mindset. At one time I was a coach and we were up, I think we were picked by 20 or 21. And the thing that I shared, and I'm sure our players did, and you guys did as well, is that the minute you think the Wolverines don't have great players, you're dead wrong. You're going to get hit right in the face. And so the point spreads don't matter. Can you guys speak to playing as an underdog like the Wolverines will be this weekend?
You know, for myself and, 95, I felt like throughout my career, I felt like 95 really was our best team, in terms of, the names and the people that we had, Monty Toomer, Mercury Hayes, Biaka Batuka, Jared Irons, Clarence Thompson. I thought 95, if there was any year that we would, go undefeated and make it to a championship game, it would be that year. So going into that game, having those losses on our schedule, we still thought we were a great team. Of course, we fell short throughout the season, and lost some close games we probably shouldn't have lost. But we never went into the Ohio State game thinking that we were the inferior team. We just felt like, man, we played to the level of our competition throughout the year. But coming into that game, it was ingrained into us that, look, we expect to beat every team on our schedule, especially within our conference. But there's one team that really matters, and it was always beating Ohio State. So if throughout the year, you allowed yourself to let your guard down in a game, we weren't letting our guard down against Ohio State. So this week, being a 21-point underdog, it's got to be pretty humbling, especially for guys who came from that team last year that won a championship, the guys who are still around, to come off a championship and then come into this game and be a 21-point underdog, it's pretty humbling. So I know those guys will be fired up because, again, we've been always taught that, if you went 0-10 and you got to this game and you won this game, then you know what? We ended on a good note. We look forward to next season. So the guys will be ready. And I look forward to just watching the guys fight and compete.
And that's a good question about the underdogs. That was my junior year that Coach mentioned. I didn't realize they were ranked 7th and we were unranked. I think we had 4 losses going into the game, and we had not played great in multiple times during that year. But yeah, they came in there and I just remember the game. Honestly, I remember how much fun we had. They come in there. I don't know if you could say you didn't have any pressure on us, whatever, but we felt like, yeah, we want to be the spoilers. We want to mess up whatever they got going on, all the good stuff they have. And we end up winning the game. I'm not sure even what the score was, but I remember just how fun it was on the field, on the sideline, and after the game. And like I said, we weren't a great team at the time, but we took that, and that absolutely fueled us throughout our offseason, throughout those winter workouts, throughout the spring ball. Like that, it kind of gave us a little springboard into that. And now, if we wouldn't have won that game, who knows? That offseason would have been brutal. And I think it definitely helped us out.
Yeah. Hey, Charles, man, obviously – head coach Sharon Moore, man, he's a guy who I have a lot of respect for, a guy who I hold in high regards. He's always been good to me. Obviously inherited a tough situation, a tough season for Michigan. And what do you think the future is? What's the next steps for this program under head coach Sharon Moore?
Well, first of all, for Sharon, I was golfing, I think it was maybe a week and a half ago, and one of the people that I was golfing with, the first question he asked me, "Hey, you guys gonna fire the coach?" And I'm like,
What
are we talking about?
Right.
Why would we even be considering firing the coach? I mean, considering the circumstances, coming back or him taking over a team that lost 18 of his 22 starters to either get drafted or on an NFL team as a free agent at some degree. So this was going to be a tough job for him coming in, regardless of what the circumstances were. So you've got to give him a chance, man. You know what I mean? Give him a chance to be a recruiter, as the head coach. We just had a big win getting the number 1 player in terms of quarterback.
Y'all got that money. You chipped in on that, huh?
Some of that Oracle money.
And I gave him I had like $1.75 on it, man. I let Larry take care of the balance of that, man.
And a bottle of whiskey.
And some whiskey. But yeah, so I mean, you guys have watched the games all year. You've seen how we've looked at, the quarterback position. We know that when you look at the top teams right now, they got guys that are at the helm, distributing the football who are really good players. So you got to get that position solidified. We've had injuries. Will Johnson hasn't played in some time. He's not going to play this week, I believe. I just read. So just a lot he has to deal with, offensive line. Most of those guys are gone on to play at the next level. So now, Coach, you talk about it a lot. You talk about a position group on the field that really has to have that continuity. It's that offensive line. And so those guys have to grow within that position as well. So Sharon just needs a little time. Like I said, we got this new quarterback coming in, so that'll bring some energy to the program, and then just continue to build on his smash mentality. He always talks about smash, and I know he's a good coach, and I think he'll get this thing turned around for sure.
AJ, let's pivot to you and let's talk about the Ohio State head coach, Ryan Day. Just the other day, he said his issues against Michigan, just one win, one of the worst things in his life. And he compared it to the passing of his father as well, which, just kind of increases the magnitude of what this rivalry means to Ryan Day, what it means to Ohio State. Where is, in your mind, Coach Day and the Buckeyes right now with the recent issues they've had against Michigan since Ryan Day took over?
Well, I mean, this game is like a weird one for them, I feel like, because 21-point favorites, everyone's expecting you to win. How do you not let it become like a trap game or whatever? Because we know like they're going to bring it doesn't really matter. You can say all the thing, you can throw out the records in rivalry games. Like this game is different. Like I said, my junior year, we probably should not have won the game. We found a way to beat them. They came into our house and did it. So you're not going to take them lightly. But I feel like seeing Coach Day, when you hear that, like you get a sense of what the magnitude is like, especially if you're not from Ohio or Michigan, you understand. Hopefully it gives you a little glimpse into like what it does mean. And it's true. Like some of my earliest memories of this game are, I have an uncle who is like everybody says, the biggest diehard Ohio State fan ever, but he lives and dies Ohio State. I remember him hugging me and crying after multiple games he would come to just because he was so happy we would beat some team 64-2, like one of our early games. Like games like that would even affect him. He was just so excited and loves the game. So there's people like that, like everywhere you look. So this game is everything. Like it's true. Like it really is, especially if you're the coach. I mean, obviously Urban knows better than anybody. Like, yeah, if you win this game, like life can be good. If you don't, like it's almost like you can't allow yourself to be happy until you do find a way to win this game.
Yeah, I think too. Just to kind of piggyback off that. I mean, you got to think about for Ryan Day to have that sentiment about the game. You compare that losing to his father. When you think about the position that he's in this year, yes, they have those expectations to beat Michigan, but also that people talk about the amount of money that they purportedly spend. We talked about our quarterback and what we spend to get this guy flipped. Well, the amount of money that they spent to bring in Caleb Downs, to bring in Judkins, and all of these guys. Like there's a huge pressure. I think we're 21-point underdogs, and kind of like AJ talked about when he played. They probably maybe shouldn't have beat Michigan then, but that you're going to go out there and give your best. So Michigan's going to come to play, but the pressure shifts to Ohio State because of what they brought in to ensure that they win this game and try to get into the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to watch, man. Can't wait for it.
Now, hey, none of us got to experience the NIL, man. I think we all played a long time in the league, so we did okay, but we would have been real wealthy going into the next phase of our lives, how we had NIL during our time. But with this new NIL and all this thing around college football, do you think it's been a benefit to the college football, or do you think it's been a detriment? The
NIL stuff, yeah. Sometimes I do wonder, what would I have done in college if I was part of that? The only thing I actually think, I was like, man, I would have rented a sweet house somewhere with a pool and a hot tub. Like that's what I would have wanted to have, close enough to campus where I was still a college kid, but have like a legit adult fun party house. Yeah, like that's what the number one thing I would have got. But I would have just
I can tell you've been thinking about that, AJ.
Right?
I would have rented that one. I would have rented.
It's not too late, AJ.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You and Brady can go in on a place.
Yeah,
I've seen
might.
AJ's. He's good.
We just might. Hey, Brady just got a sweet new Sprinter van. Make sure he takes you guys around in it when he can. So I know he's got it for his 15 kids he has on the way. So, but as far as the NIL stuff, yeah, I think it's at least from from an outsider, from a fan, just watching the game and watching teams play. Like we're getting awesome games. We're getting awesome matchups, obviously, because of how the conferences and how everything is realigned. We get these huge matchups early in the year that sometimes we're not used to getting. So I like that. I think the play on the field's been awesome. Like sometimes, it might be tough to figure out which school this guy, you got a quarterback who you're watching him on his third team play and he's still a good player. Like, it's crazy sometimes getting that all situated. But I think from a fan's perspective, the game seems to they're playing at a high level. Nothing's like deteriorated. I feel like the game's getting better and they're exciting games to watch. So that's the main thing I'm thinking of. The insides, I don't even understand how it works and what I know there's a court case coming up in April or something that they're going to make a decision on could change the way NIL works. But at least there's still a great product on the field, in which that's the main thing I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think, I wonder, would I've gone to Michigan? You got to think about growing up and I don't know who else AJ looked at when he was coming out of high school. For myself, of course, I always loved Michigan. I took a visit to the Miami Hurricanes and took a visit to Notre Dame. But in my heart, I was always probably going to go to Michigan. But in terms of today's game, you look at this Bryce Underwood, who was committed to LSU, and then all of a sudden we flip him. If I'm coming out of school and somebody offers me 5 and somebody offers me 1 million, where am I going?
5.
There's a good chance I'm going to take the 5. You know what I mean? So I think it's changed up the landscape in that regard in terms of having. I think it's changed any little bit of loyalty a person might have had to a particular brand. It's about the green now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's about that money.
Not the school colors, the color of green.
Not the school colors, man. So it's changed it in that regard. And so, but let me just say that I do believe that players should be paid. So
yes,
I would start there and say that NIL in that regard is good. Do I think there's a better way to navigate it in terms of how these players are getting paid? I do. I don't really know how, but I know there's a better way somewhere. I don't know about giving a guy $10 million coming out of high school. I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
That's heavy.
So yeah, that's heavy. So I think it's good. It has a lot of good and some bad. So
you guys are friends. You guys are rivals.
Yeah.
You won a Super Bowl together. What was more special, beating your opponent, your rival 3 times, or winning that soup together?
Charles, I'll go first, Charles.
Yeah, go ahead.
What a great question. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough to, I guess, I don't know, because they're all awesome. Like, you win. Like, I don't know.
You win that Super Bowl, you're a world champ. Though.
Yeah, that's like the apex for football, for what it is. So that's awesome. But I don't think at the time I understood the magnitude of the Super Bowl. Like, I thought, what do you mean? I'm going to win 4 of these. So we've got Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback. Right. We're coming back and doing it over and over and over again. And unfortunately, I never got back. But as I get older, I mean, I can't rank them really, but it's good to win. Absolutely. But the first thing I thought of after the Super Bowl too was, man, this would be awful to get to the Super Bowl and lose. Like, that's one of my first thoughts I had after I was really excited for winning. So same kind of thing when you beat your rivals as well. But unlike Charles, I have a loss in the game. I'm 3-1 in the series. I know he's 3-0.
Yeah, well, it's a great thing to have both. You know what I mean? To have the Super Bowl and to have beating a team that you spend all your time and effort as a young collegiate student to do. But always for me, it's always about a championship. So whether it's college or the NFL, it's about the championship. I mean, we don't really in our time playing, we don't think about just having one win during the regular season on your resume. All the work that you put in as a player with your teammates and the off season and running hills or stadiums or whatever you do it so that everybody can win. And so to get to the highest level for both of us to make it to the NFL, for one, is a feat in its own, you know, from coming from a young man from wherever you're from to making it to the NFL. And that being the highest bar, the highest you can get to. There's nothing after that. There's not the NFL, then the NFL beat. You know what I'm saying? So to win the Super Bowl, to me, was everything. Because that's what you, as a kid, when you watch games, you watch Super Bowls, you know, watching Jerry Rice, you know, John Taylor, you know, playing against the Bengals and catching the slam, winning the Super Bowl. Like, you want to get there. You know what I mean? And we were able to do that. And you know, that was a great joy in my life to finally host that Lombardi Trophy. And I'm sure, you know, for AJ as well.
Hey, just real quick before we gonna get both of y'all out of here. We talking about the pros. Both y'all played Lambeau Field. My first game ever as a pro. We went to Lambeau Thursday night, and me and Coach, we've been talking the last few weeks about running into this Bear Zero defense on the goal line, running into the teeth of the defense. Do y'all remember that play at the end of the game when my coach sent me up the middle and y'all D-line cut my O-line and y'all just had 6 people jump over the top and just stop me on the goal line and ruin my debut as a rookie, my dream as a rookie? Y'all killed it.
AJ, did you get a little piece of that?
AJ was right there, jumping over the top.
Well, unfortunately, the play before that, I wanted to fight the ref. They called a PI on me. I jumped over Sproles, and they called a PI in the end zone and give him that one play from the goal line. So if I didn't jump over and have something to do with that play, I would have been cut from the team probably. But it was a good one to win. I'm glad you didn't get in, Mark.
Bro.
Hey, Mark, I probably got the best picture because I jumped. You know, I'm the linebacker because I want to meet the running back in the air. I don't think I hit nobody though, but I was up there.
Bro, it was so bad. I'm like, I got set up for failure, man. I still hate Sean to this day for that.
So good.
If he would have gave me a flip, it would have been over. I just would have walked into the pylon like.
Because we loaded up. We was all coming downhill for sure. Yeah.
Great place to end this one on. But I want to end on a positive note for both you guys. AJ Hawk, Charles Woodson, thanks, guys, for joining us. Look forward to the game. AJ, give me OH.
I-O, Rob.
Attaboy. And Seawood, what kind of day is it?
It's great.
Yeah, hey, oh, man, I don't know what your lead in. I never heard that lead in.
You've never heard that? What kind of day it is to be?
Yeah, okay.
It's great. Tell me.
You got me. You caught me off guard. But I'll say it. It's great to be able to get Wolverine, baby.
There you go.
Boy.
They cut it together.
Boy. All right, guys, thanks for the time. Look forward to more confrontations, more conversations with you guys, and enjoy the game on Saturday.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all.
Appreciate you, AJ.
Man.
Appreciate you, Charles.
Light it.
Well, as you all know by now, we have teamed up with our great friends at BetMGM this season, and we're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks. We'll also have special offers for our listeners each week. Mark, you're listening, right? You're listening to this?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Pay attention. All right, so if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, we urge you to use the bonus code OPTION or go to betmgm.com/option, and you will get up to $1,500 first bet offer, Mark, on your first wager with BetMGM. We're talking $1,500, Mark.
$1,500. But here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code OPTION. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code OPTION when you sign up or go to betmgm.com/option.
It's all about the option, Mark.
It's all about the option, especially the triple option.
See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369 New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Welcome back to the Triple Option presented by Wendy's. Rob Stone, Urban Meyer, Mark Ingram back here with you. Huge news in the coaching ranks came down Tuesday. The University of North Carolina deciding to part ways with the Hall of Famer, one of the all-time great human beings, Mack Brown. We're going to take a look at Mack Brown's Hall of Fame resume presented by ZipRecruiter. Try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/option. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. So Mack, he didn't start, but he made his first noise really in Chapel Hill with North Carolina, then took his talents to Austin, won the 2005 national championship while with the Texas Longhorns, went into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2018, 35 years as a head coach, 282 wins, a winning percentage of 65%, 26 times he took his teams to bowl games, 14-12 overall. Remember, he took over a North Carolina program, his second stint in Chapel Hill after Larry Fedora went 2-9 and 3-9. And he brought him back to national relevance. He recruited next level talent. Look at all the great quarterbacks that have come out of Chapel Hill the last couple of years. But it was really a roller coaster this season. Lost his starting quarterback in the first game of the season, had that really humbling 70-50 loss to James Madison, which kind of set things in motion. Coach Brown is 73 years old, had 3 years left on his contract in Chapel Hill. And after 16 seasons overall at the University of North Carolina, Coach Brown is done, at least in Chapel Hill. I can't imagine he'd have another stop, Coach, but him leaving, what was your initial reaction when you heard Mack Brown and Carolina were parting ways?
I just wish that I know Mack very well, one of my very close friends. We've since 2005, Sally and Mack and Shelly and I are very good friends. And I just wish he would have left on, maybe there's something behind it too. I didn't read all the press. I also know the AD very well. Bubba Cunningham was assistant AD at Notre Dame when I was there. We're friends as well. So it seemed like a really good marriage, but you could see the program start to slip. And Mack's 73 years old, and I'm going to text him later today. And there's a really, he knows that there's a really nice life outside of the stress and the dated. I mean, it's consumption. So Hall of Fame coach, one of the great people, one of the great guy that I looked up to, a guy that I went to see on many occasions. He was a guy that kind of had still an ounce of work-life balance that a lot of us didn't. So Bob Stoops and Mack Brown were two people that I sought counsel from. And it wasn't so much, hey, how you blocking the 4-3 defense, or how tell me about the spread and the RPO. It was tell me about, because Mack Brown, and I throw Bob Stoops in there, as I think those are probably the most rounded guys, elite coaches I've ever been around, because most of them are nuts. Like the guy sitting here talking right now, where Mack and Coach Stoops were kind of, they were grounded.
Hey, Coach, Mack Brown was the first guy, if I'm not mistaken, that kind of reached out to you when you were going through some challenges in the elite level of head coaching, correct?
Yeah, I was hired in 2005 at the Gators, and we won at Bowling Green, we won at Utah, and Mark knows this. The SEC, you wake up in that animal, and that's a whole different. Food tastes different. Athletes look different. Everything's different. And he saw me at a press conference after a loss, like an LSU or something. And out of the blue, my phone rings. It said, "Hey, this is Mack Brown." We talked for an hour. And because of that, I do that now to coaches. When I flip on and I see someone have a bad loss, or I see a look in their eye, I'll just reach out of the blue and say, "Hey, this is some of the stuff I went through, and I've heard it's helped some guys."
What did Mack talk you through? How was his questioning, and what was he worried about with you?
Well, we had to look, look like where in the hell am I? Where you're a stranger in a strange land, man. This is, but he just calmed you down. He's just a guy that, he's very strong in his beliefs, and he's, hey, there's so many great things in your life, man. Let's move, you lose a game, move on. And his message was really clear to me, is that your players are going to be you. So if you have that look in your eye, lose it, because your players are going to have that look in your eye. Whatever your confidence or lack of is going to be instantly given to your players, and they're going to respond.
One of the all-time great guys in this industry. I had a chance to get together in his office this spring and talk with him, and an absolute pleasure to be around. He had not lost his fastball. I mean, maybe his fastball was really, really fast in his prime day, but he could still pitch it out there. He was still recruiting. He was working his tail off, and I wish him good luck this weekend as he closes things out against NC State. We don't know if he's going to coach in the bowl game. An absolute legend. And there's not many Mack Browns left out there. When you
a
really
legend
think
in the
about
game, a legend
right?
in
Like
the game.
when you think about guys you would turn to of who do you want to hear from on the state of this? And Mack Brown would be one of those voices. And now he's got, as of now, at least one more game to coach. So Mack Brown, thanks for everything you did for college football.
Coach Mack.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And we look forward to what's next for you. I hope he takes a nice little trip and it's got
beautiful
some cocktails
life
with little umbrellas in there. He's
a
had
beautiful
a good
life,
Coach.
Coach. He's been pouring into young men. He's been pouring into young men and developing young men his whole life. It's time for him to enjoy the fruits of his labor.
Awesome human being, and let me tell you, North Carolina, that is a great job. I know they say it's a basketball school, and it is, but I think it can be both. Let's pivot. Mack Brown, thanks for everything. Time now for Pick 6, brought to you by BetMGM. Place your money line, prop parlay, and same game parlay bets at BetMGM. You can download the app today. As always, please gamble responsibly. We've got 6 games. We do it every week. We pick against the spread. Mark's got his deuce dog of the week. We're going to talk about a little underdog. Reminder, these lines are current as of Tuesday, so they obviously can change. Game number 1. It is time for the Iron Bowl, Mark Ingram. This year, it is in Tuscaloosa, where the Auburn Tigers have not won a game since 2010. Remember, the Tigers outlasted A&M last week. They now sit 1 win away from bowl eligibility. You're tied, favored by 11.5.
We got to bring up bad stuff, man. We could have left that 2010 nugget out. That was a
like
nasty nugget. That wasn't no
that was
saucy.
too saucy for you?
That was a nasty nugget. That loss still pains me to this day. But anyways, 3 of the last 5 meetings between these two teams have been decided by 3 points or fewer. So we know no matter what the records are, you can throw them out the window. This is going to be a dogfight. And it comes, man, listen, the Alabama defense, I just appreciate them because they've gotten better and better throughout the season. They have been having trouble stopping the run. Gave up 257 rush yards to Oklahoma last week, and they have a good back coming in this week for Auburn, man. So they'll need to be on point. They'll need to shore up that run defense. But it all comes down to Jalen Milroe. When he plays the way he's capable of playing, Alabama is the most dominant team in college football. When he takes care of the football, he makes the right reads, we are a tough team to beat. He's had 8 interceptions in his last 7 games, had 3 interceptions last week. I see Alabama getting back on track in this Iron Bowl, man, because there's a lot of chirp going on. I don't know if you've been hearing it, man, but there's been a lot of chirp on the Auburn side. You know, they saying this. They saying Ryan Williams ain't one of them guys. They saying Jalen Milroe ain't one of them guys.
Do not poke the Ryan Williams bear. What are you thinking?
Saying Bama ain't one of them guys. So it's going on in the media. They popping their stuff. But, hey, I know Bama, they just getting ready. They behind the scenes. They got to bounce back, man, because the last week was detrimental loss, man. So if you want any hope at all of possibly even being one of them 3 lost teams to get in, you got to dominate this week in the Iron Bowl. And I got my tie rolling.
All right. Iowa State hosting Kansas State. Do you guys know what this is? Do you know what time it is? Nope. It's time for Farmageddon. That's right.
Farmageddon.
Farmageddon. They have met every year since 1917, making it one of the longest continuous series in college football history. It is also one of just 2 never interrupted rivalries in college football. Farmageddon. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. All right, so the Big 12, as we know, an absolute mess. Listen to this. 250 possible championship game combos exist. Who wants to be the mathematician back in the Big 12 offices trying to figure out who's going to be in the Big 12 championship game? They cannot pay you enough. 9 programs still alive. That includes the Cyclones and the Wildcats. No team controls their destiny. Farmageddon is going to play a big part in it. K-State rolled Cincy last week. Avery Johnson looking healthier than he has been for a while, caused some problems with his legs. Iowa State, remember, had that surprising 2-game losing streak? Well, they've rattled off 2 straight wins since. Last week, 405 yards of offense, 31 points at Utah, at a really good defensive unit, Utah. So they got their offense clicking. They've got the top scoring D in the conference. They've got underrated wideouts and improving QB, Rocco Becht. Folks are going to be talking about Rocco Becht a lot more next season. So it's 2 evenly matched programs. It's 2 teams that recruit really the same guys. And in the end, Home field, I think, is going to be the narrow difference maker. I like the Cyclones to cover in Ames in Farmageddon.
That was a lengthy one, Rob.
You like? I just tried to shove Farmageddon in as much as I can.
All right, I got Texas. I got Texas at Texas A&M, and that won't be as long as Rob there.
Coach has got to go somewhere. I can tell
there is no chance that Texas overlooks, and I mean, you're going to get the best version. I said that the other day when they were throwing a reprieve when there were some losses, because Texas was kind of looking on the outside looking in. One of the best 3 rosters in college football. They're fairly healthy. It's at A&M, and I'm going to say this. I grew up watching this game, Mark, and then some power brokers got together and said, hey, let's not play this game for a while.
Awful.
That just pisses me off when stuff like that happens. But, who knows what was behind what was behind door number 2 of that. This is a, Hall of Fame legendary coaches and players played in this game. I can't wait to see it. But I think Texas covers. I think you're going to get better and better versions of Texas Longhorns as they run out the season.
Interesting. The winner of this game, of course, advances to the SEC championship game to take on Georgia. Clemson favored by 2.5 at home to South Carolina. Yeah, I love closing. It's rivalry week. This is what we do. The Tigers, they're going to be doing some scoreboard watching this weekend. A Miami loss, Mark, would put Clemson in the ACC championship game against SMU, but they've got the Gamecocks this weekend.
I've been riding the South Carolina Gamecocks as my underdogs a lot this year, and I'm doing it again. But listen, man, Clemson is a really good team, and they need some help. But listen, Cade Klubnik has been balling. They accounted for 3+ touchdowns in his last 3 games. The running back, Phil Maffa, over 1,000 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns this season. But the defense gave up over 288 rushing yards to the Citadel last week. The Citadel last week. And then you got South Carolina, who's one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They won 5 straight, which is the longest active winning streak in the SEC. Got the best point per game differential in the SEC since week 8. And Lenora Sellers has been balling. Raheem Sanders has been balling. They also have the number 2 scoring defense in the SEC during their 5-game win streak. But the matchup I want to highlight is those 2 pass rushing phenoms they got at South Carolina. Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart going against the Clemson offensive line that has allowed 9 sacks in the last 2 games against Power 4 teams. So I think they're going to continue that momentum in this game. And I got the South Carolina Gamecocks being my aura. What you think about that,
Deuce, dog of the week.
Think about that, Coach.
Coach is good. Hands up, Coach is good. All right, Coach, I got a question for you. Notre Dame at USC, do you know what they're playing for?
I coached in that rivalry
but do you know what they're playing
7
for?
years. What did they play for?
It's weird. It's an odd one.
What is it?
You're close. The jeweled shillelagh, also known as the bedazzled walking stick.
I remember that.
What is a shillelagh?
It's a walking stick. It's like a piece of wood, and you just
for an old person.
Yeah, or young people if you just like walking sticks.
Oh,
whatever. All right, so it's in LA. Notre Dame favored by 7.5. For the first time since week 1 and 2, guys, USC has won back-to-back games. They took care of their crosstown rival, UCLA, last week. It was a tight one, not a real pretty one, but it was a win. 19-13, Trojans are bowl eligible. Since they've made the QB change, right? They brought in Jaden Maeva, the Trojans, 2-0. This clearly, though, is going to be his biggest test. For Notre Dame, since that stunning early September loss at home to Northern Illinois, the Irish, 9 straight wins. That includes dismantling another service academy last week, pounded Army 49-14. A win would guarantee them a playoff spot and most likely a home game as well. And so what an opportunity for Notre Dame's West Coast rival to perhaps ruin their playoff hopes. Just the kind of win that Lincoln Riley and the Trojans need to stabilize their program, to stabilize their recruiting area. It's just the type of chaotic scenario that we have seen week in and week out in college football, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Irish escape LA with a narrow win, but they do not cover. Coach,
wow.
Let's get to the game, the 2 winningest programs in college football history. Wolverines have won the last 3 in this rivalry, but the Buckeyes huge favorites in this one in Columbus.
Yeah, I look at that point spread, and that alarms me a little bit. The Buckeyes will win the game. Buckeyes are a much better football team. They have better players right now, but there's a little bit of fight in the Wolverines right now. They played their best game last week. I know it was against Northwestern, but they settled on a quarterback. They look better. I did a lot of homework on this game and just why. Jim Harbaugh left on the 24th of January, Mark.
24th of January.
So the transfer portal was open. I want to say it closed December through January 2nd. There was everybody was talking about Harbaugh leaving. They had no idea who was going to become the new head coach. So all that they're going to lose 18 players to the draft, or 18 starters. They have serious quarterback issues. And I was like, how do you not fix that? So of the top 25 transfer portal quarterbacks, 23 of them were signed and done by the time the new head coach is named at the Wolverines. I'm going to talk about that on Big Noon this weekend, because how does that happen? How does a national champion, one of the best teams in the last 20 years, that was a hell of a team now.
Yes.
Yeah. They leave, they're going to leave. They were all seniors. That was a senior team, and you're wondering what happened. The more research I've done, I know exactly what happened. If I'm a transfer quarterback, why would I go there? If I'm a transfer receiver, I don't know,
who's going to throw it to me?
Yeah, who's going to throw it to me, and who's this coach? What's going on here? I'm not throwing darts at anybody. I was trying to figure out how does a team go from one of the great teams of all time, momentum on your side, obviously good academic school, all this stuff you can sell, and you're left at the most important position where you're playing, you're just rolling guys through there. So that's just a little history of it. I think Ohio State wins, but I don't know if they cover. 21 is a lot of points. I think it's going to be a 20, it's going to be an 18, 19. That's a lot of points. So I'm going to say Ohio State wins, but I don't think it's going to be that close, but I'm saying 18 points.
Point spread wise, if Michigan is to upset the Buckeyes, it would be the biggest upset point spread wise in the history of the game. Wow. Coach, real quick, we got to get one memory from you about the game. Your moment that stands out for you that will always resonate about the game in Urban Meyer's life.
Yeah, there's two. One is when I'm on the sideline for the first time and I see the maize and blue across from me, and I actually had a moment like, what in the hell? You're actually doing this. But the greatest moment I think that I've ever experienced is when Curtis Samuel crossed the goal line in the double overtime game. That's the hardest game I've ever coached. Their defense, they were loaded with, that was a Jabril Peppers group that was NFL players everywhere. It was rugged. We had to drive it the length of the field twice in the fourth quarter to tie that thing up and make a chip shot field goal, and then we won in overtime. And yes, J.T. Parrott had the first down, and Curtis Samuel scored, so that was the greatest moment.
Coach, we had some tough games, me and you. So if you say that was the hardest game you ever coached in, I know that thing was a barn burner, because we had some.
We had some?
Had some pushy games. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be fun Saturday in Columbus, Coach. You're gonna have C. Wood right next to you on the set.
I really love C. Wood, man. He's a great dude.
I think he's going to have on that ass guy.
He protects me in Auburn. I got him in Columbus.
Oh, you're going to have his back this week, are you?
I always do.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to give you the last shot.
Next to us, we'll be fine.
Oh, man. We might need it. It's going to be chilly. We're going to need something to warm us up in Columbus.
I might have to wear an ascot this weekend.
Oh, that's a great idea, Mark. We should all do ascots. All right. Follow, subscribe, rate us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as across social media at 3X Option Show. Don't forget, submit those questions, and we'll have some of them answered during a future show. New episodes coming your way every Wednesday. Thanks, as always, to our wonderful sponsors, Wendy's, BetMGM, and ZipRecruiter. Enjoy Rivalry Week, everyone.
And tell your mama no.